What if I told you that some of the most unusual, confusing, and downright bizarre lines on our planet aren't found in nature, but drawn by humans? Across mountains, rivers, deserts, and even living rooms, borders divide our world in ways that defy reason. Some split entire villages in half. Others cut straight through buildings or separate neighbors by just a few meters. Yet centuries of history lie between them. From tiny European towns where stepping over a line takes you into another country to islands that shift nationality with the tides, to borders frozen in time, locked in conflict, or deliberately twisted by politics. This is the story of the strangest borders on Earth and why they exist. Border 1, Baarle Hertog and Baarle Nassau, the town cut to pieces. Our first stop takes us to one of the most confusing places on Earth, a small town that looks ordinary until you realize it's made up of dozens of pieces scattered like a jigsaw puzzle. Welcome to Baarle Hertog and Baarle Nassau, a Belgian-Dutch border town where sovereignty gets messy. Here, Belgium and the Netherlands share a border so tangled, it cuts through streets, shops, and even bedrooms. You can literally have breakfast in Belgium and step into the Netherlands before your coffee gets cold. In total, Baarle Hertog consists of 22 Belgian enclaves inside Dutch territory, and inside some of those enclaves are even smaller Dutch counter-enclaves. This chaotic border dates back to medieval land deals between feudal lords. Over centuries, property ownership, treaties, and inheritance left a patchwork of micro-territories. When modern nations formed, nobody wanted to redraw the line and risk conflict, so they kept it as it was. Today, the town embraces the confusion. Each border is marked with white crosses on the ground, and homes display tiny flags by their house numbers to show which country they belong to. It's peaceful now, but a living reminder that even in modern Europe, history refuses to stay simple. Border 2, the Diomede Islands, tomorrow and yesterday. In the middle of the Bering Strait, between Russia and Alaska, lie two tiny islands separated by just 3.8 kilometers of freezing water, but also by an entire day in time. To the west is Big Diomede, part of Russia. To the east, Little Diomede, part of the United States. Between them runs the international date line, the invisible boundary separating one calendar day from the next. That means when it's Friday morning on Little Diomede, it's already Saturday morning on Big Diomede. They call them the Tomorrow Island and the Yesterday Island. Once, families lived on both islands, visiting each other by boat. But during the Cold War, the Soviet Union evacuated Big Diomede and turned it into a military base. The border was sealed, and communication between the two islands was cut off. Today, Little Diomede still has a small Inupiat community, while Big Diomede remains Russian military territory. The two islands, so close they can see each other, remain divided by time, politics, and history. Border 3, Mount Everest, the peak shared by two nations. The highest point on Earth, Mount Everest, is more than a symbol of human endurance. It's also one of the most unusual borders on the planet. The summit of Everest is a shared point, half in Nepal, half in China's Tibet Autonomous Region. That means climbers who reach the top are technically standing in two countries at once. The exact line runs across the snowy peak, a nearly invisible marker separating two cultures, languages, and governments. Over the years, disputes arose over the mountain's true height. Nepal measured it from the southern slope, China from the north. In 2020, both countries finally agreed on the same height, 8,848.86 meters. But even here, on the roof of the world, politics and pride converge, proof that not even nature's greatest boundary is free from human lines. Border 4, Bertal, the land that nobody wants. Between Egypt and Sudan, deep in the scorching Sahara, lies one of the strangest anomalies on Earth, a piece of land claimed by neither country. This is Bertal, 2,060 square kilometers of unclaimed desert. It all started in 1899, when Britain drew the border between Egypt and Sudan along the 22nd parallel. But just a few years later, they adjusted it for administrative convenience, giving certain tribal lands to Sudan and others to Egypt. That second line created two conflicting borders and two disputed areas. Halibi Triangle, rich and desirable, claimed by both, and Bertal, barren and worthless, claimed by neither. Under international law, you can't claim both, so each country chose the more valuable one, leaving Bertal as terra nullius, no man's land. In theory, anyone could claim it, and many internet adventurers have tried, declaring fake micronations. But in reality, Bertal remains empty, silent, and unwanted, a rare blank space on the world's map. Border 5. Pheasant Island, the island that changes countries. In the river that separates France and Spain lies a small, forested island, Pheasant Island. It's tiny, uninhabited, and seems insignificant, but every 6 months, it switches nationality. Yes, this island belongs to France for half the year, and Spain for the other half. The arrangement dates back to the Treaty of the Pyrenees in 1659, which ended a long war between the two nations. To symbolize peace, they created a condominium, a shared territory with alternating control. Every February and August, the two nations hold a quiet, ceremonial handover of power. No battles, no speeches, just paperwork and tradition. For over 360 years, this little island has been passed back and forth, a tiny symbol of diplomacy done right. Border 6, the apartment line, the house split in half. In the same town of Baarle, one house has become world famous. Its living room lies in Belgium, while its kitchen sits in the Netherlands. The border literally runs across the floor, a white line separating the nations. Even stranger, the official rule states that the country of a house depends on where its front door is. So, if you move your front door a few meters, you could technically change countries without leaving home. During the COVID-19 lockdowns, this led to bizarre scenes. One side of the street opened for business under Dutch rules, the other side closed under Belgian law. A simple line on the map became a daily puzzle of identity and legality, proving how arbitrary borders can feel in everyday life. Border 7, the island of St. Maarten, a Caribbean divide. In the Caribbean, the island of St. Maarten is famous for its beaches, food, and friendly people, but it's also the smallest inhabited island on Earth divided between two countries. The northern part is French St. Maarten, the southern part is Dutch Sint Maarten. According to legend, the border was decided by a race. A Frenchman and a Dutchman started walking from opposite ends of the island. Wherever they met would mark the boundary. The story says the Frenchman, fueled by wine, took a more meandering route, but still covered more ground than the Dutchman, who was slowed by rum. The real reason, of course, lies in colonial treaties, but the legend captures the spirit of this dual island. Today, the border is almost invisible. You can drive from one side to the other without checkpoints. Yet behind the relaxed atmosphere lies a history of rivalry and cooperation that continues to define the island's unique charm. Border 8, the Korean Demilitarized Zone, a line of tension. Not all strange borders are peaceful. The Korean Demilitarized Zone, or DMZ, is one of the most heavily fortified borders on Earth. It stretches 250 kilometers across the Korean peninsula, separating North Korea and South Korea. Ironically, the DMZ was created as a peace zone after the Korean War armistice in 1953, but it's anything but peaceful. Guard towers, barbed wire, landmines, and soldiers line both sides. In the middle lies Panmunjom, the joint security area, where North and South Korean buildings stand face to face across a concrete line just a few inches wide. Inside one of those buildings, the border runs straight across the conference table. Visitors can literally stand with 1 foot in each country, though heavily watched by armed guards. It's one of the world's strangest and most fragile borders. Border 9, Norway and Russia, the peaceful Arctic line. High in the Arctic, near the town of Kirkenes, lies one of the most surprising borders, the Norway-Russia line. Here, the two nations share just 195 kilometers of border, one of the few places where NATO meets Russia directly. And yet, it's remarkably calm. There's a single border crossing, a river that freezes in winter, and a small zone where reindeer sometimes cross illegally, unaware of international law. Locals used to visit both sides for trade and fishing, and even today, despite global tensions, the border stands as an example of quiet coexistence. In the far north, politics seems small against the vastness of snow and sea. Border 10, the four corners, where four states meet. In the southwestern United States lies one of the most mathematically perfect borders, and also one of the strangest tourist attractions, the Four Corners Monument. Here, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico, and Arizona meet at a single point. It's the only place in the US where four states intersect, and tourists flock here to lie down with a limb in each one. Yet, the border is not as perfect as it looks. Historical surveys were slightly off, and modern GPS shows the true corner may lie a few hundred meters away. But it doesn't matter. The monument stands as a symbol of how humans define order, even in the chaos of geography. Border 11, India and Bangladesh, the enclave maze. For decades, the border between India and Bangladesh held one of the most complicated border puzzles in the world. Hundreds of enclaves and counter-enclaves scattered across both sides. At one point, there were over 160 enclaves, some just a few hectares wide, pieces of India inside Bangladesh, and vice versa. Residents lived cut off from their parent countries, surrounded by foreign land, unable to access basic services. The mess began during partition and the end of colonial rule, when old feudal estates were carved into new nations. After years of negotiation, both countries signed a historic agreement in 2015, exchanging enclaves and simplifying the border. It ended one of the world's most bizarre territorial entanglements, where people could be citizens of one country but live entirely inside another. Conclusion: lines in the sand. From mountains that touch the sky, to islands divided by time, to invisible lines that decide who we are, borders shape the human story. Some were drawn by kings, others by colonizers, and some by accident. Some unite people through cooperation, others divide them forever. But all remind us of one simple truth: the earth itself doesn't recognize our lines. The rivers flow, the winds cross freely, and the stars above belong to everyone. Maybe one day, the world will see beyond the borders we've drawn and realize that the strangest lines of all are the ones we still choose to keep. Thank you for watching Facts in the Veil. Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more chilling and mind-blowing videos, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. This has been Facts in the Veil. Until next time, stay curious.